Or investigation, how about that?
Before the trial,
Okay.
is to be preceded by a thorough investigation. Now, the investigation does not even end at the point of investigation. When you conclude your investigation as investigating team in charge of the matter, that is sent to the office of the DPP, that is the Director
Public
of Public Prosecution. It is this office that looks into the case file based on the evidence, the body of evidence that have been assembled, preparatory for the trial, or to be used in support of the allegation. They deploy their legal expertise to, give the go-ahead or advise you otherwise.
Or enter Nolly. Is it that same office that can?
That office has no power to enter Nolly. Nolly, under the Constitution, can only be entered by the Attorney General or the Attorney General of the state or the Attorney General of the Federation.
Because we saw the case in Rivers State, and
of course,
we understand that.
Nolly is one of the poverty of the situation of Nolly is that they need not give you any reasons.
None whatsoever.
They need not give you any reason. The Constitution expects that it should be in the interest of the public, but it's not obligated.
Wait a minute. What if the man had died? There will still be no reason and say, look, I'm not interested in this matter.
I'm saying that, and we have seen it played out, not just with Andoka, with Adoke. There have been serious cases of Nolly, some bordering on financial crimes, and no reason was given whatsoever. You cannot go to court and begin to challenge that. It is almost like the Section 2, or Chapter 2 of the Constitution, that makes an elaborate provision for, the privileges that ought to inure to Nigerian people to improve the fact of their humanity. But you cannot, on the basis of those privileges, right to education, social welfare, shelter, housing, and so on, you cannot, on the basis of those privileges, go to court. They are not justiciable.
Mr. Ogumadu, the case of Anyebe, now some people have been brought forth by the police as, okay, they are suspects, 3 of them. Now one of them says, I am just a taxi driver. I don't even know anything about this. Does it paint a picture of inadequacy on the part of the police in terms of, yes, a lot of people out there will say like they don't even do any investigation. They just pick up anybody that looks as if they don't like, or anybody that looks as if they're in the wrong place at the wrong time and put out there. What kind of picture are we having here?
Without holding brief for the man who, don't forget, the drowning horse too will always want to hang on anything. But I can assure you that so many of such cases happen, even up to date. And it goes back to the competence of the police to investigate criminal activities. In times where they are unable to do their job, but must have to deliver on that assignment, innocent people will have to pay for it.
Who are they delivering for? Is it that there's someone on
the state, of course,
demanding that they deliver?
Oh, the state, of course. I mean, there are some cases that what has happened to the Port Harcourt students that were slaughtered the other day? I mean, Nigeria is a country that has now become a huge theater of absurdity. One in which crimes and criminality now wear the garb of comedy. And I listened to your former guest. He asked pointed questions regarding the fate of people who ought to take responsibility with respect to serious security breaches in this country. What has happened to them? What that does is that it promotes impunity. Instead of me to lose my job because there is no answer to a clear criminal activity that ought otherwise to be investigated and ascertained, you round up people, and then the instrument of torture will be deployed. This is how it works. So people are tortured to the point where they will have no option other than to concede to a crime that they never committed.
But is that usually sufficient in a court of law? Would you say that, oh, they confessed to us? I mean, if yes, some people will come out on television and deny that, if they did not do it, or even if they did. But will a confession be sufficient in a court of law? Is that what you're beginning to see in courts these days?
There's what we call trial within trial. If you are properly schooled in criminal prosecution and criminal trials generally, as a prosecutor, as a defense, it gets to a point where you question the voluntariness of these so-called confessional statements. Because, like I said, people are tortured. I mean, I was the general secretary of one of the leading human rights organizations in this country. And for years, particularly under the military, we were documenting annual human rights abuses in this country. Many of those cases border on extrajudicial killing arising from torture. The police clearly demonstrated that they have no capacity to investigate, let alone nipping crime. What they do, therefore, is to grab innocent citizens. Many of the people are waiting trial, some 10 years in prison, know nothing about what the reason why they are there. And so, when you torture such a person up to the point where he can no longer take it, he makes a confession. That confession is duly extracted from him. But in court, the veracity, particularly regarding the voluntariness of that confession, will be subjected to the scrutiny of trials. And that's what we call trial within trial. So it is one thing to get a confessional statement. It is another to ascertain the voluntariness of that voluntary confession.
But from what you've seen, I mean, having been in prosecution for a while, do you think we're doing anything to improve the capacity of our police force?
I've done more of defense than prosecution, sir.
I
remember
you've seen both ways.
Yes, of course but since you put it that way, I needed to, to enter that caveat. Your question is to defend that. What is your question?
What are we doing have you noticed or seen anything that we're doing to improve the capacity of our police to investigate, to prosecute, and do what they need to do?
Well, except that we are now having very clear challenges that show that it's not just about the police. The entire security apparatus of this country is comatose. I mean, if we are now in a country where soldiers will scamper into safety with their tails tucked in the patterns of their boots, running for their dear lives, for obvious reasons, I listened to the director of information trying to rationalize what happened. But for the layman, for the ordinary Nigerian, who knows that Boko Haram have taken over a town, hosted their flags, and are daring to move to the next stage, it is clear that the government will have no other option other than to improve on what they are doing. Now, you see, our situation is complex. The government may be determined, but coming at a time where corruption has taken over every other effort to redirect the affairs of things, you will find that money may be deployed. That money may not be used. Even if it is used, it might not be used for the purpose it is meant for.
So this is hydra-headed.
We make this point because I do not imagine how this ragtag, I mean, you see them, and they are usually not too much in terms of numerical strength. How they are able to overwhelm the almighty Nigerian soldiers who go outside this climb and dramatize capacity is what some of us cannot fathom. And the impunity with which they carry on in the face of clear absence, if you like, is what some of us will continue to shoulder over.
All right, we'll have to end it. But has your Tinted Matter case been resolved?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It's resolved in favor of the state, so I have filed my notice of appeal. We are in the Court of Appeal.
The wheels of justice.
I hope you keep giving me the support needed.
Thank you for coming in this morning. We'll be back after this break. Join us again.